All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Escape the Rich Trap. Today's going to be a special day. We've got a great guest, somebody who's famous in his own right, has done some really amazing things in the film industry. Help me welcome Josh to the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, man, this is going to be fun, dude, because you're doing some big things. And but before we get there, well, I guess tell everybody what you do. Let's talk about that.
So I'm in advertising. I do marketing and advertising. I've found some success doing that. And we are at the point where we're growing, but I'm stuck because I can't find the right people, and I don't know the systems and processes of scaling it, I guess.
Really? So tell me, what do you do? Who do you do marketing for, and what type of marketing? There's so many things to market. That's why, mediums.
No, absolutely. Well, what I found is the marketing versus advertising. So a lot of people throw them into the same bucket. They're not necessarily the same things. Content marketing, what I do is like the podcast, getting out there on social media. That's a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff where you're doing it hand-to-hand combat every single day. It's tiresome. I've done it for the past 5 years, and I'm barely starting to get known. The advertising aspect is you turn it on and it happens automatically. So I found that with like lead generation for certain businesses, it works very well. And this is your niche beauty salons and people that do like doctors and lawyers and stuff like that. The ones that specifically need leads, those are the ones that you can use social media to just turn them on and boom.
So you use social media. So you do a digital ad agency focused on social media.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So you said you've been doing that for 5 years?
About 5 years, yeah.
So both simultaneously, the podcast, trying to grow a brand, and also at the same time running an ad agency.
Yes, and what I found was that nobody wanted to pay attention to somebody that just started. So it took me forever to figure that out. Like I needed to be able to put into reps over the years to be able to get taken seriously, and finally, 5 years later, I'm getting taken seriously.
Finally, 5 years later. Isn't that funny, the overnight success, right? Yeah. Oh, you came out of nowhere. I've been here, bro. Right?
Yeah, I've been here. Look,
I've been here for a while. But okay, so let's go real far back. Let's go do as a kid, man. Where were you raised, born, raised?
I was raised in Mercedes. So my dad owns Dairy Queen and Mercedes. And
Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen. From the age of 3 years old to the age of 30, that's all I ever knew. That's all I ever knew. And I thought I was being primed to be able to take over Dairy Queen one day. And reality was that...
Well, hold on. Go back. Yeah. Go back, though. So are you saying, like, at 3 years old, you were, like, in the Dairy Queen?
My dad would take me to Dairy Queen, and I'd be running around like a dumb little kid, just like,
eating all the ice cream?
Everything, man. I was an obese kid. He'd serve me the dude sandwiches every day.
Really?
Yeah.
And like, okay, so you would you actually work?
Yeah, I thought I was working. I'd take out orders and stuff like that. But I mean, from 3 to like 10, I was just.
Did your dad run the business himself the whole time?
Absolutely, yeah. He ran it. I think he just came up on his 45th year of having Dairy.
And like literally, he's the GM, ran the store, managed the people, made the burgers, poured the ice cream.
Everything.
And you did all that.
Yeah, everything. I was the exact replica.
So in growing up elementary, when you get out of school, you'd go there.
Yeah, on the weekends. I never had everybody all my friends would watch Saturday morning cartoons. And I remember my dad would wake me up and say, "Hey, you want to go to work?" And I was like, "No." Get up, let's go. So
but there's ice cream.
Yeah. So I'd go. I mean, I didn't know anybody. I just wanted to hang out with my dad too. So.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have two sisters.
Okay. Did they have the same experience?
No, definitely not.
Why not? Oh, wait, you said sisters, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Never mind.
Sisters.
I totally get it. You know, a funny story is I watched an interview with Shaquille O'Neal once. This is real recent, and he said they were asking him, so tell me about your kids. And he's like, "Oh, okay, what about him?" He's like, "Well, tell me about you boys, girls." He's like, "I got like 3 girls and 2 boys." And he's like, "Do you treat them different?" Hell yeah. And he's like, "So what happens when your boys are, what's the difference?" He goes, "At 18, they get the fuck out."
Yeah.
and he goes, and they're like, "So what about the girls?" "They never leave it." And I was like, damn.
I get that as a father now because I have a 13-year-old little girl, man. It's scary sometimes.
So you were in charge of Dairy Queen, if you will. You were the customer success guy, I guess.
Yeah, I was everything. I jumped in the kitchen. I ran around taking out orders, greet people.
Did you get compensated?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I probably wasn't very much at the time, but.
But even in like your teens, did he put you on payroll or?
Yeah, I was on payroll. Yeah, and I thought I was making a decent living.
Okay, so did you have to use your own money to do things?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, or was it your own money, you get to have fun with it?
No, because I remember there was a time where my parents treated me very well, and I think the misconception that a lot of my friends that I grew up with was that I was rich, and I was like, no, I'm not rich. My parents are rich.
Well, what does rich mean to you?
Oh, so rich means having enough money in the bank to do whatever the hell you want.
And they didn't have that?
No, they didn't have
Oh.
it. So I was from across the tracks. That's what they would tell me. So since I had the pool and all that stuff, everybody would hang out at my house. But I mean, I was always working, so I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, they had money, but they were working for it. Like, it wasn't because they had money sitting around. It was like they were collecting money.
Exactly.
Because they flipped a burger or they sold an ice cream.
Yep.
Interesting. So growing up, high school, you worked there, and you worked there after high school too?
Yeah, I worked there till about 30 years old.
No other job?
Well, I had a couple other jobs, but it was always like, my mentality was at that time in my life was like, I don't need to do anything else. I can fall back on Dairy Queen. So.
Did you ever like quit? Like, fuck this, Dad, I'm out?
Oh, so yeah, when I turned 30, I came to the realization, I was like, fuck. I was looking out the window. I was working the window one day, and I was like, I've never had a lunch break anywhere else. Like, I've never gone out of Dairy Queen to go have a lunch break. And I was like, why not? It's like, I should be able to go anywhere I want. My dad owns the place. But I was stuck there. I was stuck in the mindset, like, I'm just going to work here for the rest of my life. And then now it's probably worse because I eat in my car going to the next meeting, man.
Wow. Yeah. You didn't buy yourself any lunch breaks.
Definitely not.
I mean, do you consider your dad wealthy or rich?
I would assume he is rich.
Well, I mean, what's your definition of rich?
My definition of rich is being able to have enough money in the bank to be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want.
Okay, what's wealthy?
Wealth is to be able to own assets that generate you money forever without you ever having to do anything.
Okay, cool. I have an uncle who's in his 70s now. It's something about land they like now. And I get it, land doesn't go down in value and all that stuff. It can only appreciate. It's got upside. But, like, there's no tax benefits. There's no, it really doesn't, I mean, you're just parking money that doesn't really grow. So it's not a bad investment. It's just I don't understand why that is a strategy for people in their 70s. I see it a lot more.
Well, even now, like, I'm looking at land. Like, I see, so the thing with me is, like, I'm making a certain amount a month and I'm putting it away. And I'm one of the people that was, I don't know if it's stupid enough, but I invested in digital land. I bought $15,000 worth of digital land, and it's worth $200 right now. So
hold on. So you bought $15,000
of digital land.
In what, metaverse or something?
Yeah, metaverse.
Okay, and it's worth $200?
It's worth $200 now. Oh. And I am a big proponent of Bitcoin, but it hasn't moved.
How much do you own of that?
I own, most of my portfolio is made up of Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh.
So obviously I was super excited to come here because I have money tied up in things that I want to take it out and put it in something else.
Well, by the way, wealthy and rich alike have been induced into both of those things. I actually believe, by the way, I guess we can go back to the land thing. I believe wealthy people own land. And I believe that wealthy people own land because it's a long-term play and they don't need the cash. Mm-hmm. The problem is that rich people will buy land, but they don't have a purpose to buy the land. It's like, I'm going to buy this piece of land just because it's land and maybe my kids will do something with it one day. Wealthy people strategically know that in 20 years, they're going to build a reef off the coast of South Padre, and if we're on this side of the island, and at this projector, they're going to have a visual scene, and like they're thinking that far out. That's what wealth does. Yeah. They're acquiring things, or it's strategic. I mean, Bill Gates owns more land than anyone in the whole world, but he's acquiring it for a purpose. He's saying, I'm going to keep farmland available, or whatever the fuck he's trying to do. He's going to kill us all someday. Who gives a fuck, right? But he's doing something. But anyways. So let's transition to you now. So you leave there, you open your digital ad agency. I'm assuming you're making money now.
Yes, so not very much.
Oh.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because I was making the same amount I was making at
Well, I don't know, man. You got $15,000 for digital land. I don't know, bro.
Well, now I do, yes. Now I am. But in the beginning, it was just, I made enough to be able to sustain my life.
What's your thought on money? Do you think, like, what do you believe about money? Any things that, like, you think money's good, bad, indifferent? What are your thoughts?
So I recently changed my mind about money, and specifically you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Never.
Sports cars, supercars specifically, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, stuff like that, high-end cars, high-end properties, high-end houses, beautiful $1 million houses. I changed my mind on that because I was like, who needs that shit?
Oh.
But I changed my mind. I was like, this is the only time in my life that I will ever be able to have those things.
Why?
Because I'm only going to live once.
Oh, well, no shit. Okay. I mean, but you said it like right now. Like, why?
Well, right now, well, yeah. Within my lifetime, this will be the only time that I'll ever get to own a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a $1 million house.
But why did you have what was the alternative to this mindset? What was the
the thing was just to keep working, and because I figured like I can work anywhere.
So the limiting belief for you is just that you could just make money? And
yeah.
But I mean, what were you going to do with the money if you didn't feel like you could have anything?
I was just going to go through life. Like my thoughts on life were very small when I was running my advertising agency. Like I still had the mentality of the Dairy Queen. Like I'm just going to pay my bills every month and just live a normal life and just go on day to day and just do the same things for the rest of my life. And then that switched.
Okay. And now what do you think about life?
Anything is possible. Literally anything is possible.
What made you have that epiphany, that thought?
I sat on my couch for 3 years listening to Les Brown. Motivational.
That guy will whoop your ass.
Yeah, and 3 years. 3 years I sat on the fucking couch thinking that, oh yeah, I'm going to do all this stuff.
And you were hungry.
I was hungry.
You get it? And you were hungry.
But the thing was, like, I had to put in the work. And those 3 years, I was like, fuck, man, if I had known this in the first year that I had to put in the work, the motivation is not enough, then I would have done that 3 years ago.
Anyway, so you listened to him for 3 years, made a decision you don't want to do this anymore, and you think now differently of money, right?
Absolutely.
So what do you do with your money now?
I invested into Bitcoin.
Jeez. Okay. I'm not against it. It's better than not investing it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else besides investment in Bitcoin? Any other investment?
Self-investments. It's mostly learning, knowledge, skills I try to acquire.
What's your biggest challenge right now to get to the next level?
Right now, I'm finding it hard to find the right people to help me scale.
Okay. Why do you feel that do you feel like there's no people out there?
No, I feel that they're out there. They're just not to my expectations.
What are your expectations?
I want to duplicate myself.
Interesting. So what have you done to try to find those people?
Not very much.
Oh, okay. Well, there's the problem, right? Yeah. We already solved it. We're done. Well, I mean, really, truly, have you are you trying to recruit by going out, or how are you identifying?
I've had a couple of people, and it's very hard for now. I figure that there's a lot more people that have the skills that I want, and that I can see that are doing it on social media, that they do it very well. Some of them are young and they lack the experience and the work ethic. And I don't know if the work ethic that I have should be comparable. Like I expect somebody to be at the office like at the same time I am and work throughout the day. And whether they have family or kids, they're going to get stuff done.
That's hard to say. You know, usually I wouldn't start this early, but I want to say this is that I think that is something that we want as leaders. We want to have people that are so committed that they'll do whatever it takes. The challenge is that the only way that happens that I've known is that I just do me as best as I can so hard and so often that people that want to do that will just be attracted to that.
Okay.
Versus me trying to seek it out. Because I used to try to find that. I used to be like, you got to do this. You got to be here. You got to show up. You got to be here early. I mean, I may have some of that in me, but the reason I would do that is because there was it wouldn't be for me. It would be because there was something that was needed to be done for a customer. Or there was an outcome that needed to be had.
Right.
But today I'm more like, hey, I'm just going to go really fucking hard, and people who want to be around somebody who goes real fucking hard and want to show up, they're going to show up. And I love that because that, by the way, that's your tribe.
Yeah.
And that tribe is the ones that will go to the next level with you. Like those are.
It's hard for me to think because I've always been by myself. Like if the entrepreneur in me is like I sit in my office for hours and hours at a time, just working.
Well, didn't you manage people at Dairy Queen?
Yeah, but they were there for a paycheck.
Okay.
And I want to be able to give back and make a difference, and I want to have an impact before I'm gone from this.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. So the impact is what, by building people up?
So my goal in the next 10 years, when I'm 50, I'm 41. By the time I'm 50,
so young, bro.
I want to make $222 million, and then I want to figure out how to give it back. I have shiny object syndrome, and I feel like since I've had success in certain things, I want to be able to branch out and do different things. Like the documentaries, I found some success in, but I've noticed that I only have so much time in a day to focus on certain things.
What else do you focus on?
Well, now I'm trying to get into real estate, so I'm studying real estate.
Just from an outside perspective, seeing in, it sounds like the only way you think you can succeed in something is if you give all your energy to it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do, yeah. That's how I feel.
And so that's why you can't make decisions?
Yeah, it paralyzes me sometimes. That's the thing is, like, I've been holding on to Bitcoin for the past 5 years.
That's a long time, man.
And
what was it at when you bought it?
it was at probably what it is now,
What is it right now? I don't know.
24.
Damn.
So it's gone up. It's the roller coaster.
Yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster. Yeah. Well, the truth about Bitcoin, at least at some capacity, is that the last 3 years are not a good depiction of the growth it could have, because it was very emotional driven, and it was driven by investors that aren't normal investors. And I don't mean by not normal, I mean that everybody was COVID rich and kind of somewhat enticed to do something that they had never done before. It was gambling.
Yeah.
So that was the whole stock market, by the way, the whole thing. It wasn't just Bitcoin, but
retail investors.
Yeah, the retail investors inflated the whole market, and it just deflated because the retail investors need the cash.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't their investment that they were putting in there; it was like money. They weren't investing; they were trying to make money. There's a difference, right? We're investors, and so. But it sounds like you have a good understanding of finance. You have a good investment strategy.
Well, I thought too, because I mean, I bought a $15,000 plot of land, and it went.
Yeah, but you could have bought a real lot.
Exactly. So that shows you my level of.
No, I think you're more of a speculator. I think you have a good speculation. By the way, I mean, where did you get that from? Because I don't think that's your dad. Where do you think you got the
I think just self-development. It's like I was willing to take risks. And at some point in my life, I just started taking more risks.
Did you have a bunch of people or friends that were doing buying the land in digital?
None.
You're the only one?
I'm the only one. Me and my business partner, we went in and said, I convinced him. It's like, we should jump into this. And then a few months later.
Who do you pay when you buy digital land like that? Is it Meta?
No. This is a different company. So there's like 4 different metaverses that were the biggest things at the time, and we bought into one of them.
Damn, so those guys made a shit ton of money.
Yeah. Yep.
Somebody did a good investment. All right. So if we're looking at going from rich to wealth, like you said, the number one challenge is building people, and you're not really taking a proactive approach to that. How are you going to start that then?
I lack leadership skills. And I understand that working by myself all the time and being by myself all the time, learning on my own is like I just assume that everybody's like that, and that's not the case.
Well, what does leadership skills mean to you?
I don't know. I mean, being able to manage a team, giving them expectations, and then having them hit those expectations.
Sounds like you got it. I mean, there's a little nuance there, but I mean, the truth is you put people in a position, you say, this is their role and responsibilities, here's what I want the outcomes to be, and let's go, kick some butt.
And I think the one thing that's limiting me now is the time frame. So there's only so many things that I can do in a day, and sometimes I forget to do things, so I can't lead the team because I forget. Because a lot of the stuff is like, I'm trying to do it digitally.
You got virtual teams, is what you're saying?
Virtual team, yeah.
Are they abroad?
No, they're here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so... But you're thinking that you forget to deliver things to them. So you just need a task management software. That's all you need. All right, we solved all his problems. We can all go home now. He's got a task manager. But okay, so any other challenges besides people?
So I cannot do this by myself. I've already maxed out. So my thing is I can only handle so many clients. So now I need to offboard them to the next person. And training that person to do that job is the challenging part for me.
I mean, the challenging part is because you don't trust anybody, or is it challenging?
Well, maybe that I don't trust. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because if the client does not see the end product, then it goes right back to me.
Interesting. Well, that's a hard deal, by the way. I would say that because I live in the same world. Like me trying to fulfill for somebody, I hand them off to one of my team members, and I kind of have to make sure they're going to do it. And that's hard.
Yeah, it's difficult to live with, and then something happens, and you're like, fuck, like it's my fault.
Yeah. Any other challenges besides training the people, finding the people?
Sales, I think it's always filling up your prospects, and that takes so much time as well.
Well, the point. So do you think that without let's say for an example, do you have enough business right now to consider like you wouldn't need to take any more clients?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
You'd be all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I want a lot from this life because I know there's an abundance here.
If I gave you $1 million right now, what would you do with it?
I'd probably turn around and invest it in something.
Okay. Well, and in hopes that you would get a return very quickly.
Absolutely.
Okay. What if I gave you 10 million? What would you buy?
Invest it.
100 million?
Invest it.
You would buy something.
I'd buy something.
What
absolutely.
yeah, what are you gonna buy? I'm trying to get to what are you gonna buy?
What would I buy? I don't know because I can live in my car. I can sleep on the floor. Like I don't need much to buy, but I just want to play the game.
Well, yeah, but you want to own. You said I want to enjoy
Ferrari.
it. You want a Ferrari? Why a Ferrari? Just curious.
It's the epitome of success.
Is it?
I feel it is.
Yeah,
I mean, never in my lifetime, I want to be able to drive a Ferrari, and my son looks at me like, "That's cool, Dad."
You can rent one. I mean, you can rent it right now, dude. I'm sure there's somebody right here who rent you that thing for like $1,500 for the day.
There's nothing like owning it outright.
Yeah. Well, do you think wealthy people own everything or rent it?
I would probably say they rent.
Yeah. Well, they lease, right? They don't need to own everything because there's not a need to own everything, right? The only thing wealthy people own, in my opinion, is going to be assets. And if it's not an asset, they'll rent it. So like an asset would not be a car unless it was a special edition, Bugatti that goes up in value every year, right? But they wouldn't buy the base model of, whatever it may be because it doesn't give them a return. Yeah. Wealth is a mindset if you can get that. So let's assume we get the 222 million. What's the next steps? How do you keep that money? You said you want to give it away, but you got to keep some. How do you keep it?
Well, I would assume that I would start acquiring assets that would return money.
Okay.
Because I don't need a lot per month to live.
How much do you need?
Not very much.
You're like, I'm not doing it now, bro.
I don't need very much to live, and I figured out my expenses is not very much. So what I have in excess is I usually just turn around and invest it in myself or in Bitcoin.
Wow. Okay. So do you want to, let's say, leave generational wealth?
No, because I've heard, and I could be wrong, that within a couple of generations that wealth will be gone.
Could be. Doesn't always though, right? Could be.
Yeah, and I also feel like if my kids don't work for the stuff, then they're not going to appreciate it.
Well, do they work right now?
No.
Okay, well, that could be a sign already. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, don't you think that wealth is not necessarily like money? It's a mindset. Because so many people want to transition money to people, and transition of money is really transitioning riches. Because if you don't know how to make money and you have money. Or if you know how to make money and all you have is money, you're just rich. Mm-hmm. With no assets and just money, you're rich, right? So you give your kids, let's say out of that 222 million, let's say you give each of them 10 million. Could they handle it?
I don't know.
How old are they?
6 and 13.
Okay, so either way they wouldn't be able to handle it. But do you think that they're growing up in a way right now that in 10 years or in 6-year-old, let's call them 15 or something years, that if you gave them $10 million, they'd know what to do with it or how to do it?
No, not necessarily, because I don't teach them those things.
Well, why don't you teach them those things?
Because I don't know those things.
Ah, good. So why wouldn't you want to learn them for them?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just wondering.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Because if you want to hit 222 million, which I don't think is impossible, by the way, at all. I think based on knowing your skill set, knowing what you're passionate about, knowing that you're in the digital space, I actually don't think it's impossible. However, if you did make it, how would you transition is the question, right? So what would you just give it to them?
No, I'd probably make them work for it somehow. It would have to be some type of, you have to go through the entrepreneurship to appreciate the entrepreneurship. Like the beat downs and all the stuff that you get, the dailies, all that stuff, you have to get up in the morning regardless of your feelings. You still have to get the job done. I feel like if you just hand something to somebody, they won't appreciate it.
I would agree. Well, I think that's why you reference generational wealth really rarely transitions. It's because I think people transition money and not values, not the mindset of wealth, which is you invest rather than spend. And by the way, I don't believe you have to save every penny. Like, I don't want to be a penny pincher and say, oh, we just can't live life. You can enjoy life and build wealth at the same time. You know, the way you do it is just to make more money.
Make more money. That's the thing too, isn't it? It's like it takes more time.
Yeah.
Of your time. So it's like if you're married, you have 2 children, well, there's a certain amount of time that you have to allocate to that. So that's why I figured, like, well, shit, I just got to start waking up at 5 in the morning to get some stuff done because there's just not enough hours in the day.
You know, it's so funny, but people were like, David, you need to sleep more. And I do. I sleep about 6 hours a night. 5.5 to 7 is my number every night. But the reason they were like, you need to sleep more, I'm like, I wish I could. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't have time to fucking sleep. Like, I have things to do, right? Like, I get up early, not just because I like early. It's like nobody bothers me at that time.
Nobody bothers you at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, like, it's my time, man. It's my time to do my thing. It's to own for me. And at 8 or 9, the world can hit me, right? And so I like to think, and I know you're an early riser, so it's funny. The way I see it is I probably, and you probably do more before people even start their day.
Absolutely.
Like, we do more than people, and then people wonder why we have more.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, he's doing big things. He's on this podcast. He's doing big things. But that's you, man. You're doing big things.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So
sometimes it feels like I'm not.
Well, I think everybody feels that way. So to transition wealth, you would probably put some stipulations or something in place, right?
Absolutely.
Well, what are some of the things you would think to make sure that the wealth perpetuated?
To be able to give back to humanity.
Okay.
To be able to serve purpose. To be able to have an impact in the world. Those would be the stipulations that I would put on it.
You know what Warren Buffett did for his kids?
No.
So Warren Buffett said, I'm not leaving my kids shit. He's giving all his money away. Okay, but this was the catch. He didn't say this, but you can look it up. He told each one of his children, I'm not going to leave you anything, but I want you to give back too. So he gave them all $1 billion, and he said, this is to start the charity that you're gonna give back to the world. So he puts $1 billion into a charity, and he says, you get to run the charity. This is your charity with $1 billion.
Wow.
So, I mean, even if they paid themselves $1 million a year, it's still 20 million, 30 million. It's nothing. So that's how he transitioned as well. He said, I'm going to leave you $1 billion. But the rest is going to charity. Huh. All the rest is going to charity. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Giving back, making your mark on humanity.
Well, I believe in a lot of that. I don't know what my philanthropic goal would be at this point personally, but I think that there has to be a tie to that. Wealthy people always want to give back. You find that people would think that wealthy people are stingy. They're the most giving people. If somebody wanted to work with you, what would they do?
I have a long list of things that they need
Why don't
to
we
check
pick
out
one
first.
thing? Let's pick one.
Work ethic, man. I think work ethic is big for me because I that's all I've ever known is work ethic. Like, you show up, you do the things that you're gonna say, you do the things that you say you can do.
That's right. So how would they contact you?
Reach out to me, Alamo Digital Agency at gmail.com, or give me a call.
Alamo Digital Agency, dude.
And I did that purposely so it can go throughout Texas.
Got it.
The Alamo.
Are you from Alamo? You're from Mercedes. Is your office? No, it's not. It's in McAllen.
Yeah.
So you really did that intentionally?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, because I knew eventually I would branch out through Texas.
Are you all over Texas?
Not yet.
You need to be nationwide. If you all haven't seen his podcast, he's got a great podcast. What's the name of it?
Joshua Morales podcast.
I felt like he had a name.
It's The Sesh. The Sesh.
The Sesh.
Yeah,
there you
that's
go.
what it is.
So he's got his own. He's interviewing all these people from the valley and finding real sensations. He's also a documentary guy, but makes film. He's got a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
What's your new film?
Conquista, dude. It's,
But do you have another one?
Yeah. So this next film we're working on is specifically to try to get an Emmy. This one is 14 miles off the coast of Sao Padre Island. They're going to build the biggest man-made artificial reef in the world, and they're going to use parts of the old bridge. Well, the new bridge now, they're going to take it apart. They're going to make a new one. They're going to use pieces of that to build it. And
when the fuck is that going to happen? Like in 2029 or
10
something?
years? But they already have a bunch of the pieces off the coast. I mean, on Port of
So you're going to document that now?
We're going to document it now, and then we're just going to do a projection at the end of the documentary and then start submitting it. So that's the goal.
Cool, man.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you guys. And if you like this episode and you think, man, this guy Josh is amazing, give him some comments and some love down below. Like and subscribe. This has been a fun episode. You're doing some really cool things. I'm looking forward to bringing you back and telling me about the next documentary, the next things you're doing, man.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Bye.